If you enjoy my podcast, then please subscribe, leave a rating and a review. Please visit my website, mikedelferro.com, where you also will find links to my other podcast, Self-Management for Musicians. You will also find links to my music and my socials. And of course, please share this podcast with anyone interested. Nothing beats the word of mouth. Thank you. Welcome to my podcast. I'm sitting here with my longtime buddy, Bram Wijnands. I pronounce this in the Dutch way. We're both Dutch, and Bram is a phenomenal stride swing pianist. He has been living in Kansas City for how many years, Bram?
I want to say 33.
If I'm not mistaken, your brother is also into the piano world, and he lives in Italy, and he works for Fazioli.
He's my kid brother. He's 10 years younger than I am, and he has been working for Fazioli for a good 20 years, at least. Yeah.
In Italy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that also probably kind of reveals a background, because you both come from a musical background in Eindhoven.
In a way, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My father was not a professional musician. He was actually a physicist, but he was also a luthier, and he restored violins. And he just started teaching himself how to do that. He became one of the best hurdy-gurdy builders and Renaissance instruments, viola da gambas and stuff like that. And people would come from all over Europe and they would order an instrument from him specifically, and he would build it for them according to the specs that they wanted. So it was a custom-built instrument in a medieval or Renaissance style, whatever the instrument was that they needed, and he would build it for them.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's amazing. But did he also play?
He played in an ensemble called Au Joli Bois, and he played viola. Well, it was more like it was kind of like alt viola.
Yeah, viola. Yeah.
With an E string on top, so it was 5 strings. So it was a Renaissance instrument. So, but he also played violin. He would play bagpipes. He would play hurdy-gurdy. Half of the instruments that were used by this ensemble were built by him.
Really?
Yeah, and they would always perform in costume, and all these different medieval fairs or builders fairs or whatever you would call that. When I was young, you would go to school during the week, and then in the weekends, all of a sudden we find ourselves in a castle or a festival somewhere in France, Belgium, or Germany. It was fantastic. I mean, now that I think back of it, I realize that how grateful I am for my parents to give me experiences like that.
Yeah.
So, and my mother made half the costumes.
Wow.
She was a very good seamstress. I still is to this day. But so it was very in-house.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so. And my father would sometimes kick my ass because sometimes I would join in. Like, well, we run around a castle or something like that, checking everything out, And my father said, "I need you here by then and then." Excuse me. So that you can join in on a bass recorder or a hurdy-gurdy or, whatever else I might do, or even just beating a drum, to, have an added musician to the ensemble and, be part of the performance as well. And I remember I was about, 12, 13 years old, and he would kick me in the ass. "I want you to smile when you're playing. Show them you're having fun."
That's great.
Yeah.
Because every time I watch you playing, that joy always comes across.
Well, yeah, I'm glad he did that to me, because he brought a point across, which is very important.
Yeah.
It can be as serious and intellectual as you can possibly make it, but my parents both always have told us, when you're on stage, when you're performing, or for an audience, you want to leave them smiling. And now it becomes natural to me and I feel the same way. And they were right.
It's beautiful.
Because God knows we need that right now. We needed it back then, and now even more so. So
More than ever.
So it's very cool. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so you were already. So that's. Yeah, I'll edit this part. Let me mark this one.
Yeah.
So this is actually the reason, or one of the reasons, that you play multiple instruments. I mean, you're an amazing pianist, but that's because of your childhood and playing in that orchestra, and your father having that profession.
Well, yeah, it was also because there was some kind of, when I was very young, and I had piano lessons, started at 4, and then I did that for 4 years, and then my piano teacher said with my hands, or my left hand, or whatever, they were not growing fast enough. Can you believe this?
Not if I look at them now.
Like, you can't really tell at that early of an age, I guess, when you're going to have a growth spurt. But so they were talking about, well, I should take cello lessons for a while to, you're doing this on the cello neck and stretch. And so I did that too. I wasn't into the cello. I was always into the piano. But the cello gave me enough knowledge about string instruments and bowings to, when I write an arrangement now or an orchestra, we may write an orchestration, and I need to write for a string section, I can make sense out of it with the legato markings. We call them slurs in America.
Yeah.
And then you write it in such a way that where the first violinist it will be easier for them to mark the bowings in the parts. So I'm aware of bowings. So I could even mark them myself, but I'd rather have an experienced first violinist put those in. But the way you write is where that helps. But it also was easier for me later on, because of the cello, to pick up the bass. So I still play bass.
We played a gig together in Kansas City.
Exactly.
You played bass.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah. And back to the piano. So what always look, we met how many years ago? 40 years ago, something like that. At this.
Well, close to it. Yeah,
something like that.
I guess it is. Right? Well, close to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we both studied at the Hilversum Conservatory, which was at that time one of the first conservatories in Europe with a jazz department. We were kind of the guinea pigs there.
Yeah.
And actually that doesn't exist anymore. It's part of the Amsterdam Conservatory now for a long time. And I was always blown away by your playing, and also your big love for the stride piano, your amazing admiration for Erroll Garner, and also execute that style in such an amazing way already back then. And you always also kind of stayed very true. You stuck to that kind of style. And is that... well, tell me first about how you developed this. Also with the left hand, because your left hand is so incredibly powerful.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to take it all the way back to when I was 4 or 5 years old, and the first jazz I ever heard was Django Reinhardt in the Hot Club de France, the early recordings from the 1930s. That swings really hard, and that's the point. But then, when I was 7... This was back in the antenna days. We all had antennas on our roofs to watch television. And we would watch the BBC, and Stormy Weather came on, an all-black production from 1943. You had Cab Calloway with the Nicholas Brothers, these acrobatic tap dancers. Then Fats Waller comes on with a swing version of Ain't Misbehavin'. And I watched that, and I was 7 years old, and I couldn't believe it. And it's like, now there's the kind of piano I want to play. I don't know why I gravitated towards that so much, but it made me happy. And I already was at that time listening because one of my father's students at the university, the physics department, he was also a big blues fan. So a lot of old Barrel House blues piano recordings. He would come in with Meade Lux Lewis and Memphis Slim and all that stuff. And he loaned us an LP from the Storyville label, from the old recordings, or some of it was redone in the early 60s, and I listened to this all the time. And I was trying to play the blues on the piano. It was just interesting because all we did at a music school at the time, and piano lessons, was John Thompson's. I grew up on John Thompson's piano method, you know. But you know, which works great. But I wanted to play something else. And when I saw Fats Waller, and when I heard this Barrel House blues piano, and then I saw the Glenn Miller Story with Jimmy Stewart on television when I was 8, and it's like, wow, now this is hopping, you know. And I don't know why I liked it so much. Maybe I'm some weird reincarnation of some crazy guy. I don't know, but it's just as young as Django Reinhardt, the same thing. It makes me happy, and it's good because it's also intelligent.
Yes.
It is. Yeah. It makes you think, but it also makes you happy. It doesn't always have to be all that serious.
No.
And so that's. I guess that belongs to my personality. I don't know. I mean, and I've always been that way. And as long as I get better, and I don't care how fast or slow it goes, once I become complacent, then then I'll have a problem.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, you are who you are, and you mentioned crazy. You're crazy, but in a great way. I've been knowing you for such a long time. But also, what you said, you quickly said, like, and you also in the introduction, what your parents taught you about having fun and transmitting this happiness, this joy to the audience. And until the day of today, when I see you playing this, when I hear you playing this this kind of music, the joy is always there, and that's beautiful. And also, you mentioned reincarnation. I don't know. Yeah, we could go into that, but you know, no. But what I really, you know, the way you dress. Before we started this podcast, I wanted to show you something on the iPhone, and you said, "Well, I'm kind of, you know, I'm not good with all this digital stuff." You're really someone from that era somehow, and that fascinates me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it has something to do with you want to put a smile on people's face, but it also has to be smart, right?
Oh yeah.
But then when, right now I'm dressed up because I'm performing here tonight. I don't want to change clothes there. It's just, actually, that's more like ergonomics to me. Okay, I'm just taking the train. I dressed up in my hometown. I take the train up to Amsterdam. I play here, and I'm already dressed up. But, you know, the thing is, when you are on stage and you are pretending to play good music, then you should look the part. I think that's important because it shows self-respect. If I'm going to dress down, I mean, I cannot do a concert in overalls. That's not going to happen. Even though they're very comfortable and I love to wear them. I wear them every day, but that's when I'm working on my house. That's different. Or working on pianos as a tech.
Yeah, because you're a technician as well, yeah.
But that's different. When I'm on stage performing a concert, then, you know, you got to dress up. I feel that way. I mean, that's just how I am, I guess. Call me old-fashioned. As liberal as I am in my thinking, in English that means progressive thinking, not liberaal, as you'd say here. That's different.
Yeah.
If you use that term in the United States, you mean progressive. And as progressive as I am in my thinking, in how I stand in life, this way I'm still old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, but it's beautiful. And also, I think, you know, there's a lot of complaints from musicians about it's difficult, and which is true. I mean, it's challenging. You know, being a jazz musician, especially, it's always been challenging. But now with the saturated market and blah, 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 it's really tough. But sometimes I think that musicians are to be blamed for lack of success because of not dressing up correctly or not announcing songs during a concert, things like that, little things which seem small but are so extremely important for also actually a career in music.
It is important because you want to make a connection with the audience.
Yeah.
So a little banter between tunes, or at least, and give them some information about the next thing that you're being playing. Because I did that last night too at the museum. It works because you draw the attention, and if, like for instance, I was playing what is this thing called "Love" by Cole Porter. Now he wrote that in 1924, and Cole Porter at the time. I'll tell you the story. This is what I told the audience last night. You tell something like this, they listen with different ears. This is important. So I told them, it's like, okay, so Cole Porter at the time at Tin Pan Alley was the only one or one out of few non-Jewish composers that were working there. Gershwin was working there too at the time, You can look up Tin Pan Alley on Wikipedia and read up what that was all about, because that's a really long story. Anyway, so he was working there, and he was trying to figure out why the Jewish composers made so much money at what they were writing. And he figured out there were certain klezmer influences where normally somebody would use a major third in the melody, they would use a minor third in the melody. So, and also the genius about this particular tune was it's in C major, right? But C major doesn't occur until measure 7 at the end of the A section. So it starts with a C dominant 7, with the B flat, and it goes to F minor 6, right?
Yeah.
So this is very different than what you normally would expect out of a white composer. So, and it became a huge hit, of course. But with that background and how that musically is constructed, then you play the song, and it's like, it's things like that when you perform for people. It's like whatever weird things you can think about that is historically significant and interesting, I tell people about that, Well, for instance, if you play something about Jerome Kearney had all these, or something like that, or what's the other one? Anyway, I'll think of it. With these interesting, weird amount measure bridges and stuff like that. It's like, make sure that the audience, even if they are not well versed in music, you explain a little bit about form. It's a song form. Pay attention to the bridge. And then, it's like, and then you get all sorts of comments after the concert. Last night too, it's like when, after we were done, I had people with all sorts of questions, like we were standing around having a glass of wine and yada, yada, yada. It's like, and somebody came with really specific questions, like, let's go back in there. Let's go back to the piano. It becomes an impromptu masterclass, and then all of a sudden, everybody's back sitting in there again.
The whole thing started again. But that's that's you.
That's like, I love that, because then you are so much in touch with these people, and to get whatever message across. It's great. It's a language.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy my podcast, then please subscribe, leave a rating and a review. Please visit my website, mikedelferro.com, where you also will find links to my other podcast, Self-Management for Musicians. You will also find links to my music and my socials. And of course, please share this podcast with anyone interested. Nothing beats the word of mouth. Thank you. But you're kind of an ambassador for this music. Also, not because of the playing, but also of the knowledge and the things you explain. Because I also remember, for instance, that you told me once, I don't know if you remember, that you, at that time, there were only videotapes, you would slow motion Erroll Garner videos, and observing how he created that swing in the left hand.
Well, I was actually at that time primarily looking at his voicings. And sometimes it was hard to hear on a recording. And it's like, I mean, now my ears are better trained, but back when the first few times I heard Garner, it's like, it was really different. We always say that Garner was the only one who could play in the mud. You know what that means? So it's much lower than where you normally, it's just almost like below the harmonic range of where you should put chords. And Garner was the only one who could do that and make that work. But it's harder to hear when you're trying to make a transcription. So that's why I was watching videos. But depending on the camera angle, you could sometimes see it or not. I mean, because they would never film his hands from the top down.
Above,
it was
no,
always, in front of the piano, and then it's hard to see between the black keys. Okay, what white keys? So you had to listen anyway. And thank God I have perfect pitch, so I could figure out what key he was playing in. But it was still also my ears were involved with that as well. But it was also, seeing that his pinky would sometimes hit the offbeat before the rest of the hand would hit the quarter beat. It's like that, right? So sometimes the pinky was playing the offbeat before the beat. He was playing the one and or the four and or whatever,
So that explains that explains that kind of swing
Yeah. So he would do almost like what a drummer would do on the right cymbal, with his left hand. But the voicings, because you can do that with regular left-hand voicings like what everybody uses in contemporary jazz, but it's not the same sound. And I was always about that sound. I wanted to figure out the sound, let alone the right hand, which is complicated enough to play in that style. But it helps a lot when you get these typical Garner voicings in the left hand correct, stylistically, I mean. So it's that's what I was at that time really into. It's like trying to figure out what the hell it was he was playing.
I still find him like a very how do you say that, non-tangible kind of, such a mysterious musician somehow. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, because for any layman, it is very hard to figure out what he's actually doing in the left hand. It requires a lot of very close listening. And what I would do sometimes is like close listening, meaning transcribing. Because if you don't transcribe, you do not concentrate that way. Back then, we had cassette recorders, right? Cassette decks. So I had my right hand because I was writing left, right? I'm left-handed, so I had to have my pen in the left hand. So the right hand, I was hitting stop, rewind, play, pause, and then do all that all the time, and that's how I would make a loop. I was moving my fingers on the cassette deck all the time like that in order to re-listen to it, and we didn't have computer software to slow down the tempo, but not the pitch. Now we do, but back then we did not have that at all. So it's like I was moving my fingers in the cassette deck like that, listening to my headset, and then, writing it down and trying, okay, what am I hearing, what am I hearing, what am I hearing? And then like 10 times, 20 times, whatever, and then trying it out on piano, does it sound the same? And if it didn't, I would have to go back there and figure out what it is that I did wrong. But when you do that, you really train your brain to interpret what it hears. And at some point, then I could, it's like with anything else, dictation, interval training, chord training, or your teacher's like, I'm playing this voicing, and you're not looking at the keys for what I'm playing, and you're doing the same thing. We did that in Hilversum too, right?
Yeah.
That's ear training.
Yeah.
Now, transcription to me is very advanced ear training. That's really what it is, to me anyway. And so once you get more things right, you also, you'll have more ease in recognizing what you're hearing, even with those crazy Garner voicings. So,
and because we have a piano here, can you musically explain something about this about these specific voices?
Yeah. Sure. Let me give you an example as to what. Okay, so let's take that song. What is this thing called Love? Just to work with a tune, right?
Yes.
And then we start on C7 straight out. No 2-5, just 5 straight out. 5 to F minor 6, and he would double the seventh interval. So, and he would put the B flat and low first. So you have your C, and then you would have the
C7.
ninth in the bottom, but then you would have that octave in there. He would double that.
The B flat.
Yes, yeah. See, that's sometimes we would do simple something like this too. But he did that a lot, and there's sometimes when you hear that on the recording, it's hard to determine what it actually is. But so. It's totally crazy, but you know, when you have a lot of times in these, and especially the earlier Garner recordings, the bass player would play in two, and it would work. It would just work.
Yeah.
Now, imagine the bass, because now I'm going to put the melody on top of it, right? And then he would end on something like this. So we'll put the fifth against the bass in the bottom, underneath just a simple C6.
C6 chord, yeah.
Okay. F7.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
playing in the mud there, but the top part of it is still at the bottom half of the harmonic range, you know? So he has a specific position for where he does that on the keyboard.
And he had to rely on the bass player, on the bass note, to make the harmony sound. Yeah.
And then, but also that sometimes he would go up and down in different inversions, you know. So he
It's all the same chord, which you're playing. It's all C7.
So
yeah.
You can hear that too in a lot of his recordings, where he goes up and down in different inversions and go in and out of the mud, you know?
Yeah. And that timing, again, that twist in that, where you were saying like how we would time that with...
Coordinates.
Yeah.
So the pink would then emphasize the offbeats.
It's amazing, huh? It's amazing. That swing, man, and that, wow.
It works. I mean,
Yeah.
Go figure, but it works. And sometimes he plays higher too, you know, or it's like I said, he goes up and down in inversions. It's not always in the mud, but a lot of it, you know, is very typical, you know. Those Garner voicings, when he gets low like that, that's how. And nobody else does that. That's why we also have. This one man has his own style named after him. He's not playing contemporary jazz. He's not playing bebop. He's not playing, a swing or stride. He's playing Garner.
Yeah.
He's playing himself, you know?
But that makes it so mysterious to me. I mean, you cannot relate it to bebop or not even, that's...
Even though he was great, sometimes he would have very bebop-ish lines. I mean, he even played with Charlie Parker back in the 40s. When Charlie Parker came to New York from Kansas City. And there's some early recordings in 1947, 1948, you know, and they would play together.
Yeah,
you know, he was just as versatile as anybody in that time. He was playing with everybody.
Yeah, because you had to survive.
Yeah.
And also in his last years, he recorded some Latin albums with Latin, you know, with percussion.
Oh, now, here's the thing. I love this about Garner, the dotted quarter notes.
Yeah.
And he even would put that on a swing field. You know, it's like he would play a swing field and he had the conga player, but he would still play the dotted quarter notes.
Yeah.
Now let's say the same tune, even though he didn't necessarily do it on this tune, but while we're have that tune still in our head. So you have your quarter beats: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I gotta pay attention.
Yeah.
It's totally crazy. You really have to concentrate to do that. For that you really need a rhythm section, and you can do that with walking bass, of course, right? It works. It's like a continuous perpetuum mobile or something like that. But you got to concentrate because you're going to lose it.
Imagine you have been playing that in fourth, in quarter notes all your life, and then all of a sudden you're going to.
It took me a while. It took me a while, and now I was so. And then Garner didn't always do it perfectly either, but if you have a continuous cycle over an entire chorus doing that, that's not easy to do. But for him, it became just natural. He was totally disconnected. Amazing. While he was connected with the two hands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
And Bram, back to you. So you're from Eindhoven in the Netherlands. We studied together. We even had a duet once.
Yeah.
We did a couple of gigs many years ago. And then you moved to the United States. And you have been living there for over 30 years. Yeah. How did that come about?
Well, Deborah Brown was still teaching in Hilversum at the time, and she had some friends in Kansas City. She's from there.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Deborah Brown is a fabulous jazz singer from Kansas City, also lived in the Netherlands for many years. Yeah.
Anyway, and she asked me, because we did Brussels together, we did a thing in Paris, we did the Amersfoort Jazz Festival. This is all a long time ago, with her and my trio backing her up, and he said, "How would you guys like to go to Kansas City? See if I can line up a gig for you there." And we have never been to the United States. I said, "Sure, we're young, we're in our 20s, we'll go." So we lined up a gig with Richard Ross, who was a friend of hers, who was a fantastic black singer and also a drummer.
Yeah, he was here too, right? Mm-hmm. Or he performed here.
You've seen him.
Yeah.
And he had a deep, dark, beautiful voice, and he sang a lot of blues stuff too. And it's like, man, he was swinging. So we landed an 8-day run at a jazz club there. We broke the fire code every night. The fire code meaning we had more people in the room every night than the fire department would allow us to have. So, but they tolerated it. They got free tickets. Right? Same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Every time the fire department starts complaining, you're going to have to give them free tickets. Anyway,
you bribe them.
But that was great, and that was the first what we did. I also met Stephen Mayer, a classical pianist who made a lot of Art Tatum transcriptions. He was on a house exchange. He was staying in Amsterdam here for a while, and I met him here, I think. And then he invited us to stop by and check out New York for a few days, and we could stay with him at his parents' apartment at Gramercy Park. Very upscale. My gosh, it was great. So 2 pianists in there, and he wanted to, wanted me to look at his Art Tatum transcriptions, which turned out to be extremely accurate. And then he played it for me, but it didn't swing. And he was asking me, "How do you do that?" So Jürgen and Joris Tepe at the time, because of the first trip, Joris Tepe was playing with us.
Dutch bass player.
Yeah. And so they were going out, walking around New York, checking everything out, and I got locked up into the apartment with him, with Stephen Mayer, to Set two pianos next to each other. Okay, let's just play this. Keep time. We did that for hours. Just the left hand stride. Just one,
so
2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
So
Just
imagine,
just keep it even.
you're in your early 20s.
Yeah.
You're from the Netherlands. You go to the other, to the country where this music emerges from,
Yeah.
and you're teaching classical musicians how to swing.
Even to the city where it emerges, close to it anyway. Harlem Stride in the 20s. That's where it all started, right? So, oh my gosh, that's a long time ago. And then we went back and forth in 1992, and one thing leads to another, and I'm still there. So, the initial contact was through Deborah Brown. Yeah. So it's kind of fun because she lives there now again too. So I get to see her every once in a while. So that's cool.
Yeah, but basically the reason you moved there because you got a lot of jobs to play.
Well, yeah, it wasn't the plan. Because at first it's like, would you like to go to the United States? If you set up a gig with you at a jazz club in Kansas City, with Richard Ross. It's like, sure, we'll do that. And then, people, okay, can you come here and play for our students? And we had to come back, and one of the places, the Phoenix, Piano Bar and Grill, became our corporate sponsors for work visas. So we were very lucky so that we could do it all legal, That was very cool. The owner was very cool. The owner that had it then. So, yeah, again, then one thing leads to another. So everybody comes out there. We're very popular. And then, okay, now we have to figure out how are you going to expand on, allowances for us to play other places. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you really build a career for yourself in the United States for many years. You've been there, and wait, let me edit this one. So you've been there for so many years now, but you're also a piano technician. How was it, and how is it now to be a musician in a city like Kansas City?
That has a lot to do also with the conservatory at UMKC, University of Missouri, Kansas City. When Bobby Watson was hired to head up the department, and he started in 2000, and that was the same year that I started teaching there. So Bobby and I started together.
Yeah, Bobby is a very acknowledged saxophonist.
Yeah. Anyway, so we grew that jazz department within the conservatory so much where all these young students that graduated from there then were all looking for places to play, and club owners decided, or people, okay, well, we can open a place here or there. And so the whole scene grew a little bit, so there were more places to play for these musicians, these young musicians that were entering the market. If they were not leaving town, then that's what would happen. That's still the case. So I saw Kansas City grow in opportunities for musicians to play in the early 2000s. And that's still there. Now, the department right now is not growing. Bobby retired, so... But they still, we still get graduates entering the market every year, and everybody has to play somewhere. But I think now a lot of live music happens in restaurants, which is not ideal.
No.
There's not a whole lot of clubs, but there's plenty of places to play, and you can create something. And so now there's people also that are creating something in like a distillery where they make brandy and gin and whatever not, and it's just a distillery. They say, let's have some fun. People come here to do some tastings, but no, okay, there's an area, we can make that a stage set up there, and then, so things like that. I play in a German-style brewery every weekend, which is fun too, It's very loose, people are hanging around there, it's a lot of fun, and, so... sometimes you have to be a little improvising as to what kind of place you want to play in, because there's a few clubs and good listening rooms, but not many. But there are other ways to make that work, and there's a lot of people working in Kansas City. So,
And it has some jazz history as well. There's a museum too, right?
yes, yeah, the American Jazz Museum. Yeah,
It's right there. Yeah. And do you travel a lot in the States? Like you play in other places as well, like New
Well,
York or wherever?
I go to New York a lot, but that's also because my daughter is there, Lucy.
Yeah, wonderful singer.
Yeah, and so that's, of course, I gravitate towards New York, especially now that, because she always tells me, Dad, you need to come move here. It's like, yeah, how am I going to afford that? If you need money, I'd rather give it to you. But if I move to New York, I don't have any money to give you. But I told her, it's like, whenever you need me, I'll fly out there or drive out there, whatever. And then, I do that as much as I can. So when I go to New York, I work with her. It's fun.
Yeah.
So, I go to other places, but primarily now New York because of Lucy. So, and last year we traveled in Europe and we went to Singapore together. And so last year we did a lot of traveling together. So father and daughter got to know each other very well. It's a lot of fun.
That's good.
It's very cool.
What a nice connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what are your plans for the near future?
Well, we have to finalize some recordings for Lucy's new album that I am on. I am working on my own album with a vibraphone player, Peter Schlam, who's great, and John Blagan, a clarinetist. And it's going to be like a Benny Goodman trio kind of thing, without drums. It's just piano, vibraphone, and clarinet. So the recordings are done. We have to produce it yet. So those are two actually new albums that are finally in the pipeline. And I'm also have a lot of arrangements ready to form another big band. A smaller big band, just 10 horns. But and it's all dedicated to swing music.
Wonderful.
So that's what I'm planning on doing right now.
And for the listeners, what about your online presence? Do you have a website or are you on YouTube?
My websites are both unfortunately down because I got hacked last year. I didn't lose any money, but I had to get new credit cards, which means new numbers and your automatic payments to your domain name and stuff like that. And I can't get it back.
Really?
It goes down. It goes down, and I couldn't fix it. I went to my website host, but it's different than who has your domain name, and so it went all down. So right now you can find me on Facebook and YouTube, and then when I get back, hopefully sometime this summer, I at least can get one website back up. So. That's also in the works.
But do you have your own YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's called Swing Bram. There's a lot of piano videos on that. And if you just type in my name, Bram Wijnands, you see also a lot of videos that other people have taken of me over the years from, performing in clubs and whatnot. So there's a lot of footage of myself on Facebook, and not just because of me, it's because of a whole lot of other people as well.
Well, because a lot of people love you and appreciate what you're doing. I'm your biggest fan, man. I always been, and I also started out with stride and swing piano because my father loved that kind of music. He loved Art Tatum, and I was also fascinated with it. But I went into a little bit other musical directions. But you always stayed so close to this thing and really became an absolute world-class player in that style, and I admire it and I appreciate it so much.
Well, I admire you too, because you are so versatile and you look in different directions and get what's the word, inspiration from all sorts of different parts of the world, and I think it's beautiful. See, what I chose to do is great, but it's also in a way limiting, because I chose to try to be as good as I possibly could be within my own possibility, or within my limitations, or whatever you want to call it, to be as good as I could be in one thing, which is great. You can become an expert on stride piano and swing music, but on the other hand, you have also a very extremely rich life because of the way you stand into it, which is also, I think there's something to be said for both. It's very important. It's just like, we are two different human beings. I have one approach, you have another, and I think it's fantastic, because when I listen to your projects, or or watch you online or whatever, I think, well, wow, it's really. That whole opera set to jazz, for instance, that just to name one example, it was like, who comes up with that? It's fantastic, So.
Yeah, that helped me a lot in my career, this opera meets jazz idea. But sometimes I also think that being versatile, because kind of people want to label you. And like here in the Netherlands, I really have a lot of problems in getting gigs because the Dutch promoters or the Dutch artistic directors of certain venues, they go like this, Mike Del Ferro, yeah, what is he doing? With who is he playing? Does he have... they cannot label me, which also sometimes is at my disadvantage sometimes.
I think that happens everywhere.
Yeah, maybe.
I even run into
I'm not complaining, I'm playing all over the world, so no problem.
Believe it or not, even I run into that because I'm not the right label, because I have only one thing that I am, so the labeling is always a problem no matter what it is that you do. So we're going to have to stick to, here's what I've decided to do for myself. Okay, I am only going to do what I believe I love most. And you know why? Because when you do that, it is the most truthful thing that you can do. Because that is when you have a direct connection with the audience, because it's truthful. This is something you believe in. You chose that for yourself because you love it that much. That's how I stand into this whole thing as an artist. So somebody who doesn't like that, fine. You don't have to listen.
No,
most people like it, but thank God for that. But the labeling, yeah, you can label me easily, but a lot of people want to label things in a certain contemporary way, which I'm not, obviously. But when I play for an audience, I play what I love, and that is why it's truthful. And that is the only thing that you have to remember. And your approach to music is how you stand in it, and I can tell that is what you love, and that is also why it's truthful. I have never seen or heard you play a lying note in your life, because you believe in every single fucking thing that you do.
Yeah.
And
that's what we really have in common.
That's
true.
where it's at.
Yeah. Plus, life is short, so you might as well do what you really enjoy, and stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, beautiful, man. What a nice talk. I really want to thank you for this.
No, I thank you. It's great to sometimes to get some help from somebody like you to get your point across. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll put all the links to your music in the show notes, in the description of the podcast. And I don't know, since we have a piano here, if you would like to conclude this
With a song.
With a song, it's always nice to end with some music.
Sure.
Thank you, Bram. Check out the amazing Bram Wijnands. Oké, hey, wacht even, ik heb hem gemarkt. Doe nog maar een keer. Dus...
keuze voor een fade-out of gewoon dat.
Echt perfect. Leuk man. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy my podcast, then please subscribe, leave a rating and a review. Please visit my website, mikedelferro.com, where you also will find links to my other podcast, Self-Management for Musicians. You will also find links to my music and my socials. And of course, please share this podcast with anyone interested. Nothing beats the word of mouth. Thank you.